Test. All right. Sorry about that. I was trying to organize something for an Easter thing tomorrow. Anyway, welcome back to I guess part two of part two of four, or part four of two. Of various Buffalo Line things. We started off many months ago heading up the Buffalo Line with chasing one of the Bennett-Levin special trains before Amtrak took it over, and then Amtrak stopped doing it altogether. And basically today, this is the second part of just the ride back, where I'm checking out some of the vintage PR signaling on the Buffalo Line as of 2006. This was then, over the years, slightly modified and then removed in around 2018. So I wanted to thank you very much for attending. Hopefully we can get this done in a reasonable amount of time, the start notwithstanding. So like I said, we are at the what I would call the Linden Y. And one second, just want to make sure everything is good to go. There it is. That's what I needed. There we go. If you can, for those of you who can see this, the Linden Y. Nope, that's not it either. This is a different thing. I don't even know why that's there. I don't know where my Linden Y document little doohickey is. Thought it was in here. Anyway, one other thing I want to mention, I'll mention at the end of the thing, the end of the stuff as well. I will be streaming again tomorrow. It will be a practice for a presentation I'm giving to the Philly chapter NRHS this Thursday on Pennsylvania Railroad interlocking, Harrisburg Line interlocking towers in the mid 2000s. Although it will be updated with any additional things I have. It's going to be it's just like before. It'll be about a 2-hour practice. Practice stream for my presentation. If you want to see the real presentation, you probably don't want to see both, because this is going to be the same thing. I'll give more details. I'll reiterate the details at the end of the stream, but that's going to be tomorrow night, probably starting around 10 o'clock. And again, I apologize for the slightly late start tonight. So, where on earth is that? Oh, maybe it's in here. Nope, this is the new stuff. Maybe I gotta find the old stuff. Here it is. So, this is located south of Williamsport, Pennsylvania, south of the Susquehanna River. Again, a lot of crazy railroad stuff over the years, eventually consolidated into Conrail. By crazy railroad stuff, I mean the Reading, New York Central, and PRR were all in and around Williamsport. The way it shook out is that you had an industrial loop going through the city. That's now owned by a short line that's owned by the government, the local government. And then it joined back onto the Buffalo Line with an interlocked Y consisting of CP Linden, CP South Linden, and CP River. I'm trying to remember if I ever got out to CP Bud. Something tells me I didn't, but maybe I did. No, I didn't, because it was like the only way to get there was there was like a private, what do you call those things? Mobile home park, and I just didn't feel like doing it. But anyway, that's beside the point. We're now at Linden, and we are going over just some of the stuff that I found. I chose to document there. This is arguably the less exciting of the presentations. Not this day, but the interlocking part. But this is kind of my bread and butter these days, with all of my let's go get pictures of stuff before it vanishes. And this is definitely a big example of the let's go get pictures of stuff before it vanishes. Surprisingly, even on lightly used lines, the PR still had a predilection for pneumatic interlockings. And as we saw yesterday, that was a one switch. That both of these had 2 points and and the pneumatic plant. And the other one, the switch is a little bit more spread out. So we showed the infrastructure there, but one of the switches was old and not used anymore. Here we can just see that even with a very, very small this thing here, even with a small amount of length to the interlocking, you're still going to have a compressor, an air reservoir, your CP valves that control the points, and a length of pipeline for the air pressure. So even on a very, very, very small plant, you're going to have all the kit associated with pneumatic operations. This is going to be the 219 switch. This is the switch. This is the points that. Sorry, no, that's right. Yeah, this is the one. This is the. Linden has two switches, one coming off the Y, one going on to the siding track, and this is the switch, the 219 switch that leads onto the siding track. Note the large air piston. Those are generally, that means it's probably designed for a lower operating pressure. And here we have a better view of the interlocking itself. There's that signal bridge from the other day. There's the Y lead. There's the Y switch, and here's the switch onto the siding. Back in the day, this interlocking here, if you go back to the diagram, there was only one switch, and it was just that one. And the siding had already been started at South Linden. At some point in the probably late 80s or 90s, Conrail did a simplification, eliminated the second track through the interlocking, eliminated the second switch at the other place, and instead of just relocating that switch machine, it installed a new one and threw the other one in the bushes. This does make for a slightly more rational layout. Yeah, I can't think of anywhere this sort of very small pneumatic plant exists anymore. The Western Maryland used to do a lot of this as well. I mean, to the PRR, the PRR generally would have these pneumatic installations anywhere they could get away with it. If they had full crossover or other things. Here at Linden, you definitely looks like that this was originally built with quite a bit more complexity. But the Western Maryland would go as so far as they would have at practically every one of their little. This is the end of a siding. That is the just little main single track with passing sidings. Each of those little tiny interlockings with just one switch would have a pneumatic plant, and I just missed those. By missing them, I mean I became aware they existed about a year after they were gone. In around 2002-2003 timeframe. I forget when they got ripped out. It was very early. I think it was around 2002-ish. I found like a website that was talking about that, and they had it was about the time. I mean, it was before 2002, but it was when CSX, before the Conrail split, would do a lot of Conrail interchange on the what's today the Lurgan branch of that corridor, the I-81 corridor, and the old Western Maryland line to Chambersburg was signaled because of that. And it had all the old Western Maryland pneumatic interlockings. And it was right after the Conrail split that they didn't realize that was now NS territory. CSX had its own route to New York, didn't have to interchange there anymore, and they just downgraded it into a little secondary track. And there were two more interlockings in the Baltimore area on the Western Maryland as well, down to the harbor, that had the same thing. And that got popped again in the early 2000s, and I just wasn't on the ball enough to get down there. And I could have gotten down there with. Wait, no, I'm thinking of the wrong one. But I'm still willing to bet that I could have gotten there with transit too. I didn't have a car in the area. Sorry, I'm just sort of going on. Here we have the 220L switch signal. This is interesting because this should be a straight route. Let's go to the So it's quite possible here that it's sort of hard to determine how they would have handled this. It looks like at South Linden, what should be the main track did not get a straight route. In fact, according to this diagram, this old diagram, there's a dwarf signal for slow clear. Now they definitely upgraded that. The question is what is this going to display today? Would this have displayed slow slow approach? But then what do you have that bottom head clear for, because there's no other clear route? This is somewhat confusing. Unless the clear route was through Williamsport, which does a little bit make sense. So I guess that meant you would have gotten a straight approach to CP River, where all you have is a restricting. That makes sense. And okay, I see what it is. That's exactly what it does. See, I learn something new every day, and you guys got to unfortunately learn with me. So here we have the interlocking. I thought that was under the gantry was going to be your straight route, and it's not, or at least signaled as a straight route. Even though it's signaled as a straight route the opposite direction. Go figure. And I bet the reason for that was because the whole original configuration, the main track in that bed over there, isn't there anymore. The main track would have been straight no matter what, because this interlocking didn't exist on it. Back in the day, the siding track, you would have gotten the straight route was through Williamsport. So with the signaling ending at CP River there, you get a straight approach around the Y to a restricting. Going to be a really tight, it's a very short signal block there. But if you are continuing straight, you're likely going to get either a medium clear, or an approach slow, or probably a medium clear, or maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it was. It's a little messed up. But I think that's why we have this weird signal here. I would have loved to have been down there. That's one of those things you really got to go out and see what it's doing. Sorry, that's the 220L. I think I noticed that. I just didn't try to think it through of why it's like that. Yeah, because if this was prepped for a dwarf signal that can only display slow clear, then this wouldn't have had that lower head thing for a medium clear. It would have been slow approach slow, or slow approach. Now this will definitely give you a slow approach if you're coming up on that stop signal there. So yeah, I'm not sure what this will give you. Honestly, after they redid it, it should give medium clear to another clear signal right beyond. Wait, now? Does that count for Buffalo line signals? Does that count ones that aren't working but are still in place? Because that's going to be almost all of them. This is the 216R. Yeah, the Buffalo line went from extreme underinvestment to just like, tear it all down pretty quickly. There were 3 rounds of de-signaling on the line. The first round was so the Buffalo line is leased out to 2 different short lines. I'll call them. They're arguably short lines, but one operated with a lot of Alco power that they just got rid of. The other one had whatever it had, and I think that it's like south of Olean, New York, and north of Olean, New York. So that was your dividing point. The first ones who got the lease, they couldn't remove the signaling or the interlocking huts, but they could take them out of service. The point machines were removed, the signals were left in place, the interlocking huts were left in place. I do not know if those are still there. When they came to the second round of leasing, they just removed everything. And then the signaling was like Olean South. The signaling was gone except at CP Olean. And then there was signaling between Emporium or Driftwood, and then everything down to Lockheed, everything all the way to Harrisburg. And then finally NS ripped out everything south of Driftwood. And now I don't know if that original tranche of, hey, these signals are out of service but still in place are still there. That remains to be seen. Or, you'd have to go and look up on Google Maps. They were there for a while. This is the 216L signal. I want to point out that this is, again, one of the very few locations where you would see dwarf signals with the red lenses. While technically part of NORAC, Amtrak just uses all white for these, no matter what the situation is. The PRR only installed this on a couple of its 1950s or 60s CTC projects, this being one of them. I don't know. In fact, it's to a point that I'm not even sure if red-lensed PRR position light dwarfs are anywhere. They're not on the LIRR. They're not on SEPTA. They're not on Amtrak. And I don't know. There's got to be some off-the-beaten-path location on NS, but I don't know where that is. These might have been unique to the line, unfortunately. I did get a nice up-close picture. Now, of course, yes, signal collectors are going to have, I'm sure, at this point in time, when these got thrown away, the likelihood of them being either preserved or going to a signal reseller was pretty much one. I would normally say that the whole thing of it. So, PR pedestal signals have not been made since about year 2000. They're not sold anywhere. So the USNS kind. Long Island Railroad has a giant stash of them that they can pop them out. They use them as replacement signals, as temporary signals when they're doing signal work. Amtrak and SEPTA have been forced to buy L&W replacements, which indicates that that's not good for the availability of pedestals. That might mean that the suppliers have simply run out, or the suppliers, the resellers, when I buy, again, resell not as like a middleman, as in they buy old signals and hold them in stock for anyone who needs them. They might have simply got rid of them or run out. Because now you can buy an L&W replacement for this, and I doubt that with those available, I doubt that the traditional pattern is going to see much use anymore. But it's still likely that these all got saved. Pedestals are very popular. They're like B&O CPL signals. I knew signal enthusiasts who would actually shell out like $8,000, would shell out quite a bit of money to buy new ones from USNS when they were still for sale by USNS. And or of course those also get stolen left, right, and sideways. Yeah, the red lenses was definitely to increase. The better term is salience, not necessarily visibility. There are arguments that the PRR amber signals are better in fog, and I think that that's true. But something like these pedestals where the white lamps and the red lamps are likely. So on Amtrak, I would actually say the amber lights are more visible. But after a number, after Chase, Maryland, and some other accidents, they wanted to increase salience, which just means the impact that it has on someone mentally. It's sort of like putting coins into a vending machine are less salient than having to put dollar bills in. See, now you're getting a taste of what I do now with signal photos. Just every angle. I think part of my goal, I think I've mentioned this before, but part of the reason I take on my newer stuff that I would take like 500 photos in this location. In fact, I came back and did. I eventually have ideas that if I can just make this stuff available, it can go into some sort of VR type situation. Wait a minute. I just realized that I needed to have been preparing for deconfliction. Oh, by the way, I will mention that by the time I got back there in 2018, the air plant had been completely removed. The signals had not been removed, but the air plant was gone. They had been replaced by GRS 5Hs. I don't know how frequently, how recently that had happened. Oh, no, I say the air plant had been removed. It was there. It just wasn't on. So, there you go. But I did go all around and made every effort to get pictures. In fact, that's what I'm sort of working about. All right, no, I'm good. Sorry, I'm just comparing with some things here. All right, I see what I did. All right. Yeah, the second time I came back, it was March, so everything was wintered out. This was more of a fall thing, of course, for the fall foliage train. But it was sort of nice because you had the grass still, the tinge of green to it, sort of a very Field of Dreams kind of look. Here we have the air plant and the CP valve for the 219. Oh, no, that's the 217 switch. Oh, got that one wrong. I have to redo that. 217. Don't know what that 219's there for. For anyone who didn't hear the first time, the reason they have these sort of, first off, I'm using the old, this is all on a CTC project, so it would have been run off a CTC machine. This one probably, I'm actually not sure where this would have been. Maybe probably Lock Haven. I see remote controlled by dispatcher Harrisburg, but originally it was something like Lock Haven. So yeah, this is a CTC 54 USNS 514 code system. For those paying attention at home. Anyway, where did I? Oh, and that would have just been on a USNS console using toggle unit lever switches for signals would have been left and right, and a unified everything else from like 1 to however many hundred it was going to be. So eventually Conrail did change that to a more Conrail-y type system with it's not by track number, but it's definitely you'd have like a 1E, 1S, or north and south, and a single, they just renumber everything atomically, so each interlocking would be its own thing as opposed to a whole line-long numbering scheme. I'm using the original numbering scheme. That's what's on the diagrams and the one I'd prefer to use. And here we have the CP valve. Looks like it's gotten a little bit of paint over the years. Conrail like painting and the PRR like painting its stuff silver to a degree. I'm not sure what these concrete footings were. They're probably maybe an earlier, either a mechanical pipeline. This is where I would go to North American Interlocking Towers, wherever that website is, and check out to see if there's anything at Linden. Nope, I can't find anything. Get Williams. Yeah, this is at Williamsport. It's probably a Reading. No Linden, really. Nope. Alright, anyway. Let's see if I can do this in a way that's reasonably sized. Probably not. And as I mentioned before, these little these little bubble things here or these little tubs are the valves they contain the valves that control the airflow. That was always a big problem early on in power signaling of how do you prevent the switch from just randomly throwing over. And there's a lot of work that went into that. The way it unlocks is there is a this is not it looks like that's a lid. It's actually the whole thing comes off, and there's a locking element in the middle. So you undo that lock, you undo the hasp, and then this part, this little round tub comes off, and then underneath is the air where that's where you have your air valves, or right under there. And so you have a tap that runs in, and it's split between 3 valves, and those are used to push me, pull me, the air piston. Down here, I think, is your junction box. There's a couple of places where those get popped open after they've been they've been taken out of service. I could look it up, but if anyone's interested, if anyone really afterwards, I could try to find one of those inside photos. It looks like 3 little airbrush paint things in there. That's a bad description, but you'd sort of see what it might mean if you know what those look like. And again, this is the end of your 10-foot air line right there. It just runs 20 feet from the compressor over to the 2 CPOs. And look, there you can see the individual air hoses. They're a rubberized hose. You'll see them cut, not cut in service, but they're cut for cutting them to size, and they have the scraps around, and you can see how it's like an outer rubber layer with like what's that stuff? Fibers, not fibers, but like cotton yarn in it, and then there's an inner airtight rubber thing. But they come out of the bottom of that. Again, no engine tap in case of a power failure. A5 switch machines could be cranked over manually. I don't know how to do it, and I doubt that a crew would be in a position to do it. So they'd probably have to crank it over manually. All right, that's our first set right there. I'll check out the chat in just a second. This is a partial. We're only going to be doing about 40 photos today, so hopefully it won't take that long. Yeah, I fortunately was able to years ago get a good audio recording of that at Fair Interlocking at Trenton. That's unfortunately since been pneumaticked. Yeah, Crestline. I'm not sure about Crestline itself. I think that's Tri-Lights, but a lot of that Fort Wayne line is one of the last holdouts of PRR signaling, sort of like the CSX Toledo line. Yeah, I don't really have much to... There we go, right there. You can sort of see the signals all the way back there. I'm going to try to get through to the next thing here before I go on. Because we're almost done with this part of the interlocking. Yeah, it would be... You can see I'm walking back up the other part of the Y up to CP River. The lack of camera capacity saved me on both ends. It didn't take me as long to get my photos done, and then it didn't take me as long to process them. That's for sure. This is going to be the... You see it's already starting to get renamed, like the 4NS, 4N. That's the 3 and the 5. Don't know why there's a 219 right there. This is the 216R. Not necessarily. The New York Central originally used GRS style G ones. USNS had its own, the model TRs, also sometimes like TP. There's a couple in that family. You can tell that even today's there's a number of differences. The USNS TRs were replaced by like the NR, which had a housing in the back, I think with 2 doors or 1 door, and then Safe Train had one as well that they sell. So the configuration is effectively the same, but multiple vendors supply the hardware. Don't know. I was going for all these backlit photos. I mean, come on. I had I had constraints here, and I'm going for the backlit ones. What the heck am I thinking? Oh, that's not much better. So a quick buffalo line thing, as we can see here in this signal, if I can ever get the lighting up on it, might need to hit it with some of this stuff. So down here where you have a restricting or a slow approach, that was generally the standard. Sorry. It probably would have been a medium approach. Actually, I'm not sure. But taking all these sidings, you were either going to get a medium approach or a slow approach. I don't know what you would do for diverging to a diverge on these. Because they're not slow speed switches. That's the puzzling bit. So this is late. This was done late enough that the PR would have been using medium approach, and they introduced medium approach in 1956. So I think my suspicion was, if you were that they would just give you a medium approach, and if you got a signal at the other end, good for you. If not, you were prepared to stop. That's what I'm pretty sure that they were up to. Or they could have given you, if you were going a diverge to stop, they could have given you a slow approach. But that's medium speed outside of interlocking limits, so that really wouldn't have made any sense. It's a little sometimes tell unless you get someone to let you know what they are. I've mentioned that I've in some of my tower visits, I've had the tower operator send me out with a phone, back when cell phones were a novelty, to let them know what various routes would display, because they could never quite tell. There's a lot of hand fitting in these. People are always like, you always get a lot of the folks that are like, well, but no, if in this situation it's this. I'm like, yes, it can be, but as long as something, the rules are a floor. That's like the floor of safety. Sometimes you would have stuff that's just, as long as you could always have stuff that's more restrictive. I think that's a 220R. It's the hold on. Huh, they're both 216R. Oh, RA, okay. Yeah, this should be the 216RA. It's not labeled that, but I'm putting it on to avoid confusion. Oh, I really shouldn't be doing those extra labels on these. Whoops. Yeah, that got it. All right, next. Okay, here we are at CP River, which is a little bit different. Because it has, at this point in time, it's just a single little. It's the north leg of the Y. It had one track at a PRL dwarf entry signal. The other one had this 3-lamp small target searchlight that Conrail probably installed at some point in the 80s. At this time, this small target searchlight only would display restricting. I think that when it went in, it displayed more than that, but at this point, it did not. Back here with the Corning secondary, or whatever was up there, I bet there was more going on. Or maybe they, maybe it doesn't. It's not just sorry. It's quite possible that it might have also displayed a slow approach. But I'm not sure. Whatever it was, it needed to have the slow speed thing. So that's why it was going to have these 3 heads. And then you have the bridge over the Susquehanna River, which is a nice touch. I have to capture all the width here because I have so many little signals. I don't even know if this is north or south. I guess it's south. Yeah, it's got to be south. No, wait. It's labeled as north. Wow, that's weird. Yeah, on the previous thing, if you look at the diagram coming south, again, that's just really crazy. You have this weird north. Oh yeah, there's a milepost split. Or wait, hold on, north. Or the north Y is its own thing. I don't know. Yeah, this is super confusing, even trying to make sense of this diagram, because all the mileposts all change. It's so weird. I think that NS decided to solve all these problems by interlocking this whole thing as one plant. Let me just double check that. Wait, no. So let's see here. Yeah, there's an entry signal here. No, I think they were going to do the whole thing. Well, let's see. So here we have 3 signals. Yeah, that makes sense. But they would have needed. Wait, no, they're 4. Okay, never mind. Yeah, everything on the Buffalo line was going to get resignaled. The reason I'm pausing here is because it's entirely possible that River was left alone. I don't recall seeing any work to resignal it, because it is so. Nope. There's a new thing there. All right, never mind. Scratch that. All right, each of these interlockings were on track to get fully replaced, and I bet they were. Over the years, CP River had its far limits was across the river. was literally it spanned the bridge. NS over the years did de-extend or contracted the interlocking limits and put this dwarf signal here. So you would probably get a slow clear. What used to be a full clear across the river, now you come across, get a slow clear in probably either direction. On the diagram, you either got a you could get a slow clear or, that's interesting, or you can either get clear or slow clear because of the exit signal. So you didn't have to, they wouldn't even give you the option for restricting, because if the interlocking was occupied, you'd have to get a permission pass to stop. So let's just say let's say the Y track was occupied, I guess you would get slow clear to I don't know what you would get, to a restricting? That's weird. Or maybe you couldn't get that, but sorry, I'm just going on and on here. As I try to get this guy in here. This is a very, when NS came in, you can take my word for it, the new signals are all above board. By above board, I mean they're all logical. There are no weirdnesses with them. They all make sense. Whatever River did, you definitely you're effectively going to have to be there to learn how it was actually operated. This is the 204L, by the way. In this case, it's actually useful to call this the northbound mast, because otherwise you don't know. I'm just doing that as deconfliction, because I know that I didn't name that quite the same way for the other ones. It's I consider it to be very strange that it is strange that in the 1980s or the late 80s, early 90s, Conrail had effectively adopted Michigan Central style small target searchlights as its standard signal. That's just so crazy that would happen so late in the modern era. Southern Pacific had adopted those safe train modular signals in a target formation. CSX was using USNS Elephant Ears. Southern was using GRSD types. So just it's just sort of everybody was eventually going the route, the modular color light Darth Vader route, except Conrail, which went down this detour to just start just throwing up all sorts of searchlights like it was Canadian. Here we have the other exit signal, and notice there is no need for restricting on this one because it's an automatic. There's a number plate. So it'll display a stop and proceed, or here we have a slow approach, or slow clear. Now I'm not 100% sure it could even display a stop and no, it would have been able to display a stop and proceed. But I don't know if you could get a signal into a stop and proceed here. At least according to this diagram, that 204R could only display clear, approach, stop. So and slow clear and slow clear. So if this Y was occupied, I don't know if you just couldn't get a signal. I doubt you could get a slow clear into a stop and proceed. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm not sure what they would do in that situation. I mean, a lot of times people will sit there and tear their hair out trying to figure out what worked, and then you go talk to someone who's like, "Oh, you just couldn't do that. You had to get a permission pass to stop." You can. There are so many situations where the solution is, in that very, 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 very rare circumstance, you just get permission pass to stop. And, I sort of sit there and be like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Here we have it with a nicer number plate, with a decimal even, here in 2018. One second, I'm just trying to figure out how to do this. I guess this is southbound. I'm adding a little bit so I don't conflict. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that they fixed that. Is that the same thing? Nah, it's different. That's definitely different. Different piece of sheet metal, I mean. And here we have the other signal into CP River. Note this one can display restricting. In fact, at this time, it's only going to be able to display a restricting and stop. So yeah, I would have loved to have lived near. You got to just, if you live nearby, you can get out here and check it out all the time. This is going to be 204LD. Don't know why it's LD, but hey, whatever. Did I actually get that right last time? By the way, these did get a nice coat of paint. Yep, 204 LD. And I apologize if this is less interesting than the normal stuff. According to this diagram, the new version of this thing was 2NS signal, probably because it doesn't know whether it needs to be north or south. That's an interesting way of solving the issue. And this is by the way, this is a safe train system. Safe tran system. Can always forget that. They do make a PL dwarf copy. I'm pretty sure you can use them. Occasionally, position light dwarfs appear on light rail lines or for other uses, so they keep them in the catalog, but not the pedestal. This also shows that when River was redone, they decided to get a safe tran LD. No, I said D, not B. And we have a modern Core 10 relay hut. Yeah, this just makes me wonder, what was up with River? How was all this dealt with? There was something going on that was different than the normal Buffalo line. Don't know if this is still there or not. The overhead, as we mentioned last time, is not as up to date as it could be. Oops. Yep. Oh, that's interesting. It was repainted into silver, despite being made of weathering steel. Makes me wonder if they were going to replace the hut. No, they were. There it is. Anytime I'm trying to come up with something that makes it nicer, it's or less bad. Nope. But at least I can. That name is free. You probably didn't see that, but yep, that's the same thing. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that's still there when the overhead shifts. Yeah, we're already pulled up. This is quite old overhead. None of the new stuff's on track. Here's a question: is that old signal on the other side of the bridge there in this picture? It would have been right in there. You can see the battery boxes and the relay cases. But I can't quite tell. Oh, man. Yeah, that's the problem. There's a reason I never went over there. Although I might have had an opportunity to. And that's just because when you're down here in Linden, there's no way to get across the river. Well, yeah, you have to drive like all the way back. But yeah, that would have been that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. But I'm sure that would have just been another searchlight mast. But it looked like that's pretty straightforward to get into. Yeah, it's right off a public park. Man, that would have been easy. And there probably was a distant signal somewhere in here. Yep, there it is. You can see the mast for it. And I bet if I go and do some overhead, I bet I can find... I wonder if I can get a picture of that on Google Street View when it was there. Yep. Wait. There are your signals. Now let's go back in time. Let's see if we can see this. No, not in 2015. Nah, maybe not. Nah, I guess it's those were never really there. I'm gonna see if I can see down the tracks to what was 2013, 2014. I can't quite see it. Sorry about this little detour. All right, just thought I'd give it a shot. So yeah, that's the distant there labeled. The Corning secondary. I don't know. Yeah, the Corning secondary flew over the line. And the Corning secondary also had an interlocking down here, according to that diagram. Oh yeah, there's a whole other Y up there. Sorry. Yeah, I have no idea where that other interlocking would have been. Somewhere in this area. All right, let's get on with the show. We're down to our last little round. Does anybody have any questions? Let's see. Red lenses, quest line, tri-lights separate. Okay, I answered all those. All right, we're almost out of this Linden zone. And we just have to go down to Sunbury and CP Case. So here's an interesting thing. Although not pneumatic, there are occasional interesting electrics. Once in a blue moon, you might find a USNS M2. But this is an M3, but it's one of the ones that have the old style motor case. The motor is in this part of it here to the left. This is the your gear assembly is there, and your contact and indication. So this is the drive that drives the points, and this here is your indication and lock bar. So newer ones, this is just a sheet metal box. Older ones, it's more cast or stamped. It's thicker and rounded, and this is definitely it's not quite sheet. This almost looks like a little hybrid of the two. In 2018, that had been replaced by a dual control M23. It's an M3 that's dual control. That's why it's. And you can see, look at that, how that box works. It's much more angular. I should have a closer picture of that somewhere, I hope. I don't tend to always take pictures of the brand new point machines if it's new, and I don't think I did, unfortunately. Because I can't tell if it's a US&S or an off-brand. NS has been known to buy some off-brand ones. I don't see any US&S logos on it. Alright, it doesn't matter. But what was there was this old M3 that had no dual control. So see this little clasp there? You'd unlock it, pop that open, you could put a crank in and crank it over. Again, that's going to be something a maintainer's. You're going to have to call a maintainer for that. This is the 203 switch. Same thing again, just a different angle. Gives you a better view of where you put the crank to manually throw it. This one is definitely a US&S. Yeah, these things are way off patent protection, so there's not much stopping anyone from literally copying an M3 or an M23 and putting their own name on it. I've seen Vosloo has done it. I want to do a blog post, but I have to go through a lot of photos to figure out all the off-brand M3s I've seen. Finally got to use one of the old names. Alrighty. This is a nice, it's a nice. You get that nice. Yeah, you literally get that tunnel effect with this angle. I'm happy with it. This is where I want to go to my other one to avoid a conflict. See, I thought that was northbound. See, oh God, it's not northbound angle. Oh, the battery box is there. You have to include that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they're all going with the internal battery arrangements. Maybe people are stealing the batteries. But if you think that they'd break into the battery box to steal the batteries, they could break into the interlocking hut to steal the batteries. Maybe they just don't know the batteries are in there. No, they have to put a sign saying, watch out, danger battery fumes, or hydrogen risk, etc., because of the batteries. And here we have those same three signals plus the automatic from the rear. Oops. Oops. What's the name of that automatic? The 178.89. One second. I just want to verify that's really the southbound. No, that is northbound. Yes. Okay. Very pretty up in here, especially with all these ridges going on. And we jump to CP case. Now, I said if you want more, you can go to my blog. I've got like huge amounts of photos of most of these things as they appeared in 2018. It's all there except the air switches. And even some of the air switches are still there, just in the bushes. So just FYI, I was able to go back and get more photos. I did not get out to CP Bud, but I did get out to CP Pine, which is sort of like, which is with the other one in there. I don't even think I got a good photo near Bud. For my own entertainment, I'm going to quickly go and find where Bud is. There it is. Yeah, so there's Bud as it was. And the problem is that the gate, the road was gated somewhere like right in there, like clearly like GTFO. Now, the railroad people have an easement, but to get in, it was going to, I was looking at, down the right-of-way, 0.7 miles each way. That was going to be 40 minutes of walk time, and I was with someone. So, no, for those purposes, Bud was not accessible. Now, okay, here we are looking at the Susquehanna River. There's Williamsport. Everything down here was re-signaled very early on, like 2010, 2012. Everything between, there's like one or two sidings. Watsontown, CP Watt, that goes to a big thermal power plant. Coal trains would come right out of coal country and go right up to the power plant. I'm not sure they still get their coal from there. But that was done very early. It was in 2006. It was still pristine. Here we go. So there's your interlocking. There's your Darth Vader masks. This is in 2021. We go back a little bit. 2018, it's changed. 2016, it's changed. In 2008, you actually have older signals. I can't really get to something that's in between those two to get a better look. Do I have anything that's not 2016? Nah, just 2008. So between 2008 and 2016, I think it was like 2010, 2012. Okay, forget about that. Nori, as you saw, was not resignaled. So wait, I can figure out which interlockings were resignaled by displaying them on my little interactive Wikimapia map. Probably Muncie, Watt, North Fair, and South Fair were resignaled. And Molly. Molly I know was as well. Nori was not. We're going down here to CP Case. So CP Case is part of the greater Sunbury Metro Complex, with CPS starting at CPSF, which is where the Reading line used to cross. CP Horn, which is the south side of the Case Nori siding. I'm sorry, the Northumberland Sunbury siding case, which is only available on the old main track, just like Linden used to be. And then, well, Norrie. So wait, what case was? Heck's this guy? Nah, it's not old. What case was this is where the PRR line to Scranton would branch off. Today, that was sold to Delaware and Hudson. Their line used to be north they was sold to D&H as part of the Conrail formation. The D&H was given some trackage rights down into Philly and Harrisburg to provide quote-unquote competition. To this day, well, I think NS owns this now, but to not that long ago, CP bought it, then CP had this route. They sold it to NS. NS then couldn't really make a go of it, and they wanted to then rip out all the signaling, but they then pulled back on that. Probably because it was a bad look to buy this competing line and then try to reduce capacity on it. Anyway, we're going to just be doing a couple things here at Case. I had seen Case had one switch, but it also was pneumatic. So I rolled out there, and unfortunately it was disappointed as I had just missed it being replaced, and you'll see why. Nope, I got to go to the other Buffalo line thing too. I did this in 2 different goes. The first go was in September of 2017. The second go was in, the second one you saw was in March of 2018. So I'm sorry to bring out, I'm not trying to confuse people here by bringing out two photos of the same thing, but it does help me deconflict to a degree. And again, here's what it looked like in 2017 before the new signals were up. And like I said, most of the traffic almost all the traffic, well, at least at this time, was flowing up to Scranton as opposed to going up to the old coal country. So the signal here at Case, I'll go about this way. It's the 60R, the 60L, and the 64L. Oh, wow, emergency tools. That's fascinating. So let me just get going here. So CP Case. That's 60L, right? Yeah, 60R. I had Sunbury in 2006. I had CP Case on my radar because I know it had a pneumatic plant. And I get there and I find the remains of the pneumatic plant, including the air reservoir and some of the pipeline, unceremoniously dumped into the bushes. So, womp womp. A day late and $1 short on that one. I'm often a day late and $1. It doesn't happen as much as it used to because I'm better about getting out, but it stings when it happens. You can use the same name for this one too. Thank you again for tuning in as I ramble on about this sort of old stuff. And there's the brand new USNS M23 dual control machine. I'm not sure. Should I do vertical or horizontal on this one? or probably just a square. There we go. That's good. And this switch is the 59 switch. All right, looks good. I believe this is a slow speed, or was a slow speed switch at least. Diverging moves would get a slow approach, because in PRR you cannot get a slow clear from a mast or a pedestal, only a dwarf. But the PRR tended to compensate by supplying exit signals in those situations where it actually mattered. In this case, you're going to be diverging... Oops. In this case, you're diverging into DCS territory, so it really did not matter. Trying to brighten those up a little bit there. And a way better, more sunny view of this. Note the late model Conrail corrugated metal screw bottom. That's something that Conrail definitely got into in its later years for its signal bases. It would just this is not something that's really even been repeated that much, but Conrail they used this sort of corrugated piping to create a foundation. They did that all over the place in the late 80s through I'm not sure, some point in the 90s, maybe even to when they were ready to get bought up. And again, the interesting thing is if you go forward in time, that this signal was just really well done. They repainted it and everything just a few years before they were ready to give them the hook. So that's very strange that they would do that. All right, we can... Oh, shoot, I know what's wrong. Yeah. There we go. And here's a wider view, and you can also see the Northumberland Bridges there. Northumberland was a pretty important point on the old PRR system, and again, it's just been in decreasing importance, but it still sees more than its fair share of traffic. So here is Case, and at this point it's still pretty important. Case is the tower, And this is where the CTC system was installed for a good portion of the line. I can go 1 second. No, I need that one. We go to the North American Interlockings, wherever that is. Let's see if case. Here we go. This is just an old Conrail era. Let's see how old this diagram is. Oh, I can barely see it. 1957. I don't know how far it went up. This is the south, so I know that it controlled everything down to Harrisburg. I just don't know how far it went up. Yeah, here we go. This is our general diagram. Oh, that's interesting. There was a loop track. Oh, wow, look at that. Huh. I know that there were some interlockings in there, but that they were D&H style. I gotta go investigate that. That's a little neat thing. I gotta check that out. Yeah, there's Horn, where the old PR Schmucken secondary used to be. Nori, Molly, a lot of stuff all in here. But case, again, there's your CTC console right there. If we go over here to the overhead, I don't even know where that... Oh, there it would have been. Yeah, I can see it. And it went up there. And it would have bled into... Yeah, it's completely gone. So there's two old D&H era interlockings. I know they still have there's like the remains of a little siding, but the PRR interlocking, yeah, that's much more interesting. I have to see how to get back in there. There might be a there's definitely a little road. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That's I have a friend who lives up there now, so I will definitely be up there more than I used to be. Yeah, that's where the old interlocking used to be, and there's the old right-of-way right there. So anyway, this is very interesting. All right, sorry for that little interlude. That's why I check things out. Yeah, wow, that's very, very neat. And that also explains why that other signal is around the curve and so far away. Huh. Yeah, it's all mode now. You don't, yeah, there's, yeah, you really don't know that's there. The way you get in is you park behind this supermarket there and you sort of walk in. Wow. All right. Learn something new. Anyway, here's case. And today I'm betting, in this time, I'm almost certain that this had the CTC code line equipment because of all the thick cabling coming out of this place. So I only got that one little picture back in 2006. But, when I came back with, better cameras, more cameras, etc., I made sure to get an inside photo of that. Somewhere, if I can find it. Did I have to go there twice? Hold on. Because I went up to the window to get a photo inside. Maybe there were just guys around. That might have been it. Oh, that's right. I came back because I couldn't get... I think there were people, or I forget what it was. I did stop by a different time and I had to come back. So let me just go to the photo albums here and let me pull it up. Because I really want to show you what it looked like inside. There we go. So this would have been the tower operation room. Yeah, you can't really tell where the CTC console used to be. I think I was hoping to find some CTC like the old console or there, but I guess I didn't. But this is what it looks like inside, and this is where the operator would have had his CTC, his wraparound CTC console. This is 2018, July 2018. Oops. Yeah, that's the newer stuff. When was this taken? Okay, that's Buffalo Line. Then where are these two? Oh, same time. I guess they're... Oh, that's right. They're on my phone. They would have been at a different location. Probably all the way at the bottom or something. Because my phone photos don't always line up. Sorry. Anyway. Ugh. And I'm, let's see here, 1 second. I just want to just check out. So yeah, you can look at this. Look at this. This is the neat part. Even by now, all the CTC code line equipment's gone. Even those interlockings are still in service, NS did this minor refurb on them, and all the CTC code stuff was gone. Look, this is 2018. CP case. I should have just called this case tower. It is case tower. Yeah, I shouldn't have. I don't know why I did that. Whatever. But there, this is what it was. Look at all of the old CTC code line equipment. Thick as your, probably lead wrapped, thick as your wrist. I don't think it even had to have gotten out. Yeah, the tower did. I mean, the old tower didn't even get a new paint job. 2018, 2006, 2018. Nothing has changed except all that CTC stuff is gone. I'm certain I have a wider angle. Yeah, here we go. Oh, it got new roof. I bet, let's see if it got that new roof. Yeah, it went from a shingled roof to a modern metal roof. And none, all that CTC equipment is gone. Wow. That's the beauty of that was a really interesting thing about the code line CTC, that even when you had CTC towers, they could be seamlessly remote controlled via some PLCs or whatever you want to do, and even hooked up to a video display at an interlocking hundreds or thousands of miles away. Very fascinating. The fascinating thing here we can see at Case is that there's this milepost here, 752. That was, there's a brief period of time where the D&H bought the Guilford rail system, or the other way around. I forget which one it was. But during that period of time, that corporate entity remiled it's what they called the freight main line from Maine to here. So this mileage starts somewhere in Maine, north of Brunswick. It's not even a signaled track to that point, but it just goes to show that's just a very, very interesting thing of. I'm trying to do a thing with this here. It's just fascinating of why that milepost is at 700 right there. Oops. Hope that's in. See, every so often I can pull up little interesting little tidbits here. But yeah, so this, even though this used to be a PRR branch to Scranton, or Wilkes-Barre, or whatever you want to call it, then through corporate ownership, through competition policy due to Conrail, then mergers, and then demergers. That's why that's a 752-mile post, even though, once again, these are now both under the same corporate ownership of NS. That's just a wild story for that track. No signals pulled up anywhere on this stuff. Oops. Again, this will be the 60L. And we are almost done. Just a few more. And here we finally have the other signal, the 64L. And this is, again, the Canadian Pacific style, or DNH. Or, sorry, it's a DNH signal, but taken over by CP. DNH always had a... DNH has been sort of under CP ownership for a long time. And that's why you're seeing a Canadian-style tri-light or tri-headed signal. That's kind of also a New York Central thing, but the Canadians have stuck with it. And also, they love their searchlights, and they were one of the only adopters of using unilenses as a searchlight, and then gave up after they turned out to not be good. But because, again, at the time that this was sort of semi-re-signaled by Conrail in the late 80s, this signal got the DNH treatment. Back in that period of time where interlockings would still split up signal styles by what railroad they were applied to. Like, you'd have a Conrail / CSX interlocking, and then the stuff coming off CSX would have a CPL. You don't see that anymore. I should do a post on mixed interlockings. That'd be a good one, especially for this. And just some additional angles of those unilens signals. I'm glad I reminded myself that there's more to be seen in the Sunbury area, and that I need to put that on my plate for when I'm back up to see my friend. And one more nice backlit image of the same 64L with the safety sign and the cabinet. Note the different no trespassing sign and stuff. That's CP. Note the European, or whatever they have in Canada for more universal symbology in their signs. Okie doke. Case, that place I go at the end of each day. There we go. Well, anyway, thank you so much for all of the kind of 4 parts we've done with this. I'm glad you stuck through it. Like I said, you can see why, despite the fact that I thought I was able to keep this pretty interesting, you can still see why that my modern stuff where you would have 500 signal photos is not a thing I'm looking really to stream. Let's just see if we have any questions here in the chat zone. Not really. Yep, thank you for all attending. So again, more details tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a practice run of my revamped version of my 2008 talk on Harrisburg Line towers. I'm just checking it up. It's going to be a live streamed Zoom presentation on Thursday. I would not recommend some people for the PRR, the Philadelphia chapter NRHS. I'm sure I can find a way to post the link. But honestly, but for anyone who's watching here, you're probably going to want to see me just do the practice. It's going to be just as good. But I would not urge you to watch both. It's going to be very similar. The good news is the practice one. I want to make a practice one on my stream so I can actually record it on my YouTube. I'm going to have to do a lot of work revamping it. I just realized that the photos from all the photos and stuff from 2008 are no bueno. I mean, the photos, the content is fine, but I have to go through and find all the newer versions. Those newer versions that all of you have watched me edit, I got to go and put them back into my back end. Amtrak Harrisburg Line. Sorry. Amtrak Harrisburg Line. The towers. Most of the photos are from about the early part of the 2010, the 2000s, with a few updates in the last since I gave the talk in 2008. So it's including Zoo Tower, Overbrook, Paoli, Thorne, Park, Cork, and State interior photos of all of those, with additional content covering Alto and North Philadelphia if I have time. I don't know how I really did that the last time because I thought I put them into the presentation. But I got to revamp it. I just got to revamp it. It's going to take me a bunch of time tomorrow, which is bad because I also want to get out and do some more content generation. So, what the heck? Oh, okay. There's all the other stuff. Okay, there's the excess. The excess. North Philadelphia. Oh, there's Alto. Okay, North Philadelphia and Alto are also in there. Depends if I have time. All right. Anyway, that's tomorrow, 10 o'clock. It's probably going to be about a 2-hour talk. Come and enjoy. All right. Anyway, thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow. Happy, Easter. Forever celebrates, enjoy Easter. Forever doesn't, enjoy your generic spring, return of, end of winter holiday. It's all good, whether it's, however you want to acknowledge the fact that we have about a month or less of nice weather before it becomes 90 degrees and humid. So enjoy it while you can. Transition away from your sweaters, and just remember, put on that sunblock because it is sunburn season, especially if you're out doing rail fanning. That's when it gets you. All right, I'll see you. Have a great day. Later, and again, see you all tomorrow, or I'll see if or check my channel if you can't make it tomorrow. I'll try to post the link for that Zoom. All right, see you. Bye.